Popularity. What is it made of? How does a person get to be popular with lots of people and have a few close friends, too? Let's watch and see what makes people like one person and not another.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy... ... a brand new podcast that's somewhat similar to the podcast that we slightly shuttered, We Enjoy Wrestling, but more focused on all the things we enjoy. That includes TV, movies, comic books, music, animals. What else do we like, Eric? Food?
I don't know, but Matt, we didn't shutter We Enjoy Wrestling. We eventized it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, now it's an event series.
Yes. We enjoy meals. We enjoy walks. We enjoy
waking up this morning to a new president. We enjoy that.
We
I know
do.
that Eric enjoys certain breakfast sandwiches at certain coffee chains.
Sure.
All these things we enjoy. That doesn't mean that we're going to sometimes not enjoy something, just like we did with We Enjoy Wrestling when we would complain about the product most of the time.
I thought about this, Matt, when we were walking earlier, and you weren't walking with me. I was walking because we live in different states. I was walking.
I wish I was walking with you. When it was just one footprint, that was Jesus carrying you.
Oh, wow. Since we're already getting spiritual, since we won't always enjoy everything we're talking about, but we'll enjoy the conversation, guys. So that's one thing you can count on.
We might even have a more structured format to this, just because we're going to sort of pick and choose the entertainment news stories of the week to talk about. We're not going to get to every single thing. Usually capping off with the biggest story of the week, aka the main event, if we are going to stick with sports cards or wrestling cards. And we're also going to go back to doing franchise recaps. Now, we haven't picked...
We're already on a different, slightly different wavelength. So I thought the main event would be the recap, would be the conversation about, like, this week's assignment. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
See, look, this is all stuff we should have ironed out literally 5 minutes before I hit record. But I think it was just a simple mistake because... so the main event could be the recap part because it's going to be the longest thing. But it doesn't mean we won't revisit things. So today the main event is WandaVision, the first 3 episodes of WandaVision, which have now aired, and you can all see on Disney+. So when we get to that, we'll say full spoilers for WandaVision, yada, yada, yada. Then we'll have, going forward, if we're going to do something like a franchise or one-offs, which is what next week will be, because we haven't picked an actual movie franchise to do yet, we'll tell you what it is. Then you have the chance to watch it or not and join us as we recap it, comment on it, snark on it, praise it. Enjoy it. These are all different ways of enjoying. So we are still the Mattitude Eric. I'm still Matt Fowler. Say hello, still Eric Goldman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Goldman. I only, on that same walk, Matt, when I saw that you named our last We Enjoy Wrestling the end of an Eric, which sounded pretty ominous.
Well, I wanted people to definitely click on it because they might have thought something horrible happened to you.
And what if it was like a 2-minute episode where you're like, hey, it's Matt, Eric died. Anyway.
And everyone who follows you on Twitter would be like, that's weird, because someone's been... talking about, been showing us pictures of his toys. So whoever killed him now has his toys.
That's what's going to happen, so sure.
All right, so we're going to go through, let me pull up this. Eric even made a document for this. That's how organized we are. You wouldn't know it from listening to what we're saying, but...
We've never had a shared document before on our whole podcast, but you definitely would tell from listening.
Listen, as long as we're organized on paper... then we're fine. So, we've got a whole thing. We'll run down. We don't have to... we're not recapping the same TV shows every week, so we're not going to say, and what do you want to talk about? And what do you want to talk about? By the way, by the second episode, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So, so let's dive into it. So, you wanted us to... I'm looking here at the itinerary, Eric. You want us to do a Who Are We recap.
Okay, well, here's my thing.
Okay, so I understand.
that
I get it.
We're a brand new podcast that very likely will almost entirely be people who listened to our last podcast initially. But you never know. And I also actually think that we might get some people just who follow us on Twitter who never listen to We Enjoy Wrestling because they don't watch wrestling. And I totally get that if that's the reason they weren't listening to our wrestling podcast.
Also, people who used to listen to us when I was your co-host for Channel Surfing at IGN for a few years before you had different co-hosts. People who liked us from that, who, like you said, also didn't listen to We Enjoy Wrestling because they absolutely hate wrestling and wrestling fans and all it stands for, and didn't even want to listen to us talk about it. Maybe we'll coming back for this one because they missed the channel surfing stuff. So, Old channel surfing listeners, We Enjoy Wrestling listeners, and people who don't know us from Adam and Steve, they might all be coming to the dance right now and listening to We Enjoy. And going forward, we're going to do the franchises. We're going to do the movie and TV news. Talk about whatever is on our mind that week. Eric just said he went for a walk. I didn't know that was coming. He told me he went for a walk. Improvisation, and maybe guests occasionally. So, celebrity guests to talk about their celebrity projects. So, So who are we? We are. I'm Matt Fowler. He is Eric Goldman. We both write about nerdy things online and have been for quite a while now. In fact, when we get to what our listeners are going to have the option of watching for next week for our one-off recap main event, it actually relates to one of the first things I wrote online for IGN.
Oh, wow.
Because remember, do you remember what it was? You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I know that I can only guess because I do know early in the IGN TV days, which, I was there and you were too for the start of, we did a lot of kind of looking back at kind of tropes of TV, and you and Jonah Krakow both wrote a lot of features that were kind of looking back at funny moments or holiday episodes.
It wasn't the TV time capsule. That was a feature I think that died on the vine very quickly, but it was the TV playbook.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was called. And, it was like a look at tropes and funny things. And anyway, so I said who we are, Eric. I said what to expect each week. And then you said the backstory on We Enjoy, named for those who don't know what that means. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we need to do We Enjoy Origins.
I guess we don't. But I think we should, We are both entertainment journalists, if you want to use that word. We write about, as Matt said, we write about nerdy stuff. We should also
Eric, we're bloggers.
We're bloggers.
We sit at the blogger table.
That's Matt's bringing up some unpleasant moments, where some bristling on sets where we've been called bloggers. Not to say there's anything innately wrong with being a blogger, but
except that bloggers are terrible.
They're not uniformly terrible, but also Matt and I, we've been doing this professionally for a long time, but also we happen to have known each other since junior high, which I think is important for our dynamic, and also the in-jokes, which I think sometimes can be endearing, sometimes annoying, because we have a lot of them.
You said junior high just now. Very surprised by that. I feel like it's like a regional thing, because I always say middle school.
Middle school, right.
I don't think I've ever used junior high, but I get it because I think it varies, because I think some places 9th grade is still junior high.
Well, that is, I will say, a very true thing. Certainly at that time was that what was construed middle school was drastically different. Was it 5 through 8? Was it just 7 and 8? Was it 6 through 8? There was a lot of sort of variances on what different schools would term middle school. I always thought of 7th and 8th grade as junior high. I don't know. That's just when I was raised. That's what they told me.
Yeah, middle school for me. But you know what? We're still friends even with this disagreement. And maybe it's because our friendship goes back so long and so deep. The backstory to us, everyone, is that I grew up in New York City. Eric grew up in Los Angeles, but for 2 years he moved to New York, and he moved into my school. And
I lived in the school?
You lived in the school. Well, you were on some sort of work-study program where you had to sort of you had to help out with the custodians and the cafeteria servers.
Sure.
You still wore your Freddy hat all the time, though.
I definitely wore a Freddy hat.
Okay, so let's get into the news we want to get into, and then we're going to talk about the 3 episodes of WandaVision, and then we're going to get the fuck out of here. And that's it. Let's see. Very briefly.
This is a cursing podcast, guys.
Probably usually just me, but it's
I curse sometimes too.
Yeah, I work blue because I'm not funny enough not to. So I think let's just get into the business of the old business, which is our email. You can still actually email weenjoywrestling@gmail.com if you want to. It'll go to our new email account at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. So pick one of those. It'll go to the same place.
Just summarize the new one.
All right, fine. weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. If you followed the old Twitter handle for We Enjoy Wrestling, which was WEW Podcast, you may or may not have noticed that it has just changed to We Enjoy Podcast. And it is now the Twitter handle for this one. So, huzzah, you already follow the new Twitter account. And that is where...
When we do a wrestling episode, it'll be there too. We'll obviously tweet it out as well on that account.
Exactly. And individually, we are at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman on Twitter. And that's all we need to talk about for now. Oh, and for those who were patrons on the Patreon of the old page, it's just the same. I'm still going to upload these episodes to that Patreon feed. So it's still under We Enjoy Wrestling. It's too annoying to start a whole new one. So just do that one.
At some point, I might.
I don't think I don't even know. I want to tinker with Patreon. It's difficult.
I do think at some point we should probably visit if we can change that.
Look, far down the line.
Maybe in a couple weeks.
We'll get to that. Like way, like you know how like how about like at No Time to Die's new release date?
Ooh.
Because that has now been moved to October. So our first news story is that this just rolled in this afternoon, which was...
You're giving away that we're recording this on Thursday, Matt, even though we're posting it on Friday.
If people actually pay attention to when news rolls in, sure, they'll figure that out. No Time to Die, which has been moved, I don't know, a gazillion times.
It was the first big movie to be delayed.
That and Quiet Place 2.
But it was the first. Like, No Time to Die was like...
Yeah, so much so that Daniel Craig hosted one of the last live things on TV before everything shut down, which was Saturday Night Live, to promote No Time to Die.
Which had already been delayed, so then it was like a weird, there he was.
When everything shut down last spring and Fast 9 was like, see you in a year, everyone was like, whoa, that's drastic, and they were the only smart ones. They'll still probably have to move it.
They'll still probably have to delay one more time.
They bumped it a month already because of Black Widow. But anyway, No Time to Die has now moved again from April 2nd to October 8th. This is all making me wonder about WrestleMania too, Eric, because I didn't notice initially when that news rolled in where WrestleMania is going to be in Tampa this year. It's going to be 2 nights like last year, but it is right now still scheduled at Raymond James Stadium.
Yes.
Which they'll probably be able to cram 70 to 75,000 people in there. And
but they will not.
It'll be and I think, it's fortunate right now that their programming is from the Tropicana Field or whatever it's called, their new Thunderdome in Tampa. So I assume that's just where it's going to roll into.
I don't want to derail too much with wrestling talk, but I will say I think they're going to stay where they said they're going to stay and do, whether it's like a crazy like spread out audience or something. They're gonna, and the fact that they are already making it 2 nights still makes me think that they're gonna try to just do something strange with it. They know it's gonna be strange no matter what. There was no way they were gonna have a full crowd there.
I don't know, because in the press release where they announced that it's gonna be in Tampa this year, Dallas, my backyard next year, and then Los Angeles finally in 2023. They had all the mayors or people releasing a statement, and the mayor of Tampa was like, "It's going to bring tens of millions of dollars into the city," So they're anticipating the travelers, people coming in.
So I guess I think there will be an audience. It just won't be anything near capacity. Look, it's Florida, where it's an alternate universe where Disney World and Universal have been open for months and months. And
I know my stepmother's there right now at Walt Disney World.
Yeah. So they'll do something. But these movies, No Time to Die got delayed, and then right after, within a half hour, I think, Sony announced a bunch of new dates, and they were moving Ghostbusters Afterlife from June 11th to November 11th, Cinderella from February 5th to July 16th. Uncharted goes to next year from July 16th to February 11th, 2022, and Peter Rabbit 2 from April 2nd to June 11th. All these movies have already been delayed many times. Ghostbusters was originally supposed to open, I think, June of 2020. But to me, all this felt predictable, not just because I realized, like, you know, because COVID's still a thing, but also because right now, my optimistic side, this is, you know, coming off of Fauci giving his first post-Biden as president speech, press conference, and he said that he is hopeful by the end of the summer, if, you know, a certain, was it like 70 to 85% people get vaccinated, that by fall, things will be normal-ish,
right,
or somewhat back to normal. And I think right now that is what the studios are going by. The great hope that maybe this time, and I do think it's the most hope we've had, things are horrible right now. You cannot have a movie in theaters packing them in right now. But by fall, it seems possible. I don't think it's going to be full capacity or anything, but I think you could at least have a decent release. And I think that's why I figured all these delays were going to happen. And I think this is it. I don't think they're going to move again. If they have to all go digital.
At this point, yeah. Well, and then also not just Fauci's press conference, but the news, the early morning news of, like, the Biden administration basically woke up this morning saying that they inherited no vaccination plan. Like, there was none from the Trump administration. So I think that, plus, you know, this also all puts pressure on Black Widow once again, which is right now in May, but yeah, if everyone's trying to pack things in for the fall or the year or the winter or the year next year, then what does that mean for Black Widow? I don't know how the MCU is story-wise is supposed to stagger out. We're already getting Black Widow after Falcon and Winter Soldier, so obviously those things can work. Maybe Black Widow is fine because it takes place, you know, in the past, the MCU past already, and it can go anywhere. Or, I don't know, like, whatever their post-credit scene is supposed to tie into anything. Everything's out of order from what the original Phase 4 plan was.
Right. Which is funny. So let's get into that whole MCU of it all, because I always felt people were over freaking out about, like, you know, there used to be people who said, were like, they can't put Falcon Winter Soldier out before Black Widow, and guess what? They are. Because I think people in their minds, they kind of overcomplicate things, because yes, the MCU movies are all connected and have these, you know, connective tissue, but it's not like Black Panther and Spider-Man Homecoming, like, had to come out in a specific order. Usually it was like just one of the post-credit scenes that might be the most important thing to something else. So I think people kind of over-connect them in their mind as if, like, that they're so intricately tied together when they're not all like that.
I think I'd argue about Homecoming a bit because of the Tony Peter relationship, but
yeah, but I mean, I think only thing with Homecoming is it had to come in between Civil War and Infinity War, but I'm saying you could have swapped the dates on Black Panther and that, right?
Yeah.
Like, or Ragnarok. Like, there was a lot of ways to switch that around. So I think on one hand there is not as tight. And I think, you know, because Feige just did a bunch of press for WandaVision, and he said the changes they've had to make so far are incremental. Like, there were tiny changes they've had to make, but I'm guessing it's all post-credit scene stuff. I'm guessing it's like maybe what WandaVision had. I bet WandaVision still will have a final episode post-credit scene, but maybe it's a little different now than it was gonna be.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, it's me, Galactus.
Right.
How you doing?
I do think that they are probably in a bind with Black Widow for one big reason, which is Yelena, the other Black Widow that we're going to meet in this movie, who's in Hawkeye. And I don't think they want us to meet her in Hawkeye first. You know, that's supposed to be the movie where Florence Pugh plays it. They want us to meet her in this movie, which is why I think Black Widow is very likely going to do the Disney Plus premiere access thing, which what Raya and the Last Dragon is going to do. Unlike Mulan, there will be some theatrical release for that. I think that's what's going to happen. And I don't know about you, Matt. So with me, with all these big movies, as someone who loves seeing movies in the theater, if I was in control and if it didn't matter, if we could just, you know, if it was just all about, like, let's just wait, I just wait for them all, because I'm like, I want to see them, but I also can wait another year if I have to see them. I see some people online that say stuff like, just put them all online now. And for them, it's just, they just want to watch it. But I'm like, well, what is the upside? Because all these movies are going to lose money doing that.
Right.
We don't know the financials because also we don't know the viewership numbers, but I'm pretty sure that all of these big movies that have switched to streaming have been at a loss. They pretty much have flat out admitted that's what's going to happen with all these HBO Max releases, is like none of these movies will turn a profit now. And they're doing it still to try to drive subscriptions to HBO Max. Is basically like this is our long play, so we don't care that we're going to lose money, or we're accepting we're going to lose money. But I don't think these other studios all want to do that, and that's why if you're Sony and you've spent like a bunch of money, I don't know how much Ghostbusters Afterlife cost, but probably at least 150 million. You don't want to just.
I saw what Muncher looks like, so that I see the dollars on the screen. We're burying the Muncher lead too, by the way.
Burying the Muncher lead and the Twinkies, the Ghostbusters tie-in Twinkies lead. I think that they want to hold these if they can, but Black Widow is extra complicated because at a certain point it does have to come out because of the other movies around it. So if Black Widow were just like, part of a franchise that comes out every 2 to 3 years, they would probably just wait longer. Yeah. But I think we're hitting the point where they're just going to be like, we have to put this out because of the rest of the MCU.
So Muncher, Eric. Have you seen a picture of him? It looks like it's like is someone crossed like, I don't know. Have you seen the picture? It's like Ed Asner mixed with a Jolly Rancher.
For me, the thing about Muncher is he looked like a figure on a theme park ride. Like he looked like, just like, if you're going around the bend on like a dark ride at one of the parks. Dark ride is, one of the indoor enclosed rides are usually like more like observational, like the Fantasyland rides. And he looks like, it's like, there's Muncher on the pole there. So I was like, oh wait, this is a still from the movie? Which actually
well, apparently that showed up on an episode of MasterChef Junior Spain, where that's how we got a leaked image of Muncher.
That's how Muncher was revealed.
Yeah, and so that's how we get this screen grab of Muncher, who, for all we guess, best guess is this new attempt to reboot the franchise's version of Slimer. It's like their silly ghost that goes around pouring hot dogs down its mouth or something. I don't know.
Well, since this is a reboot-quel, I guess you could say he's their BB-8 because Slimer still exists in this continuity and it'll probably show up.
Right.
But
so he's the new one where they're like Muncher. Well, right. The funny thing about Slimer is that he never became a part of the team. He was just around as sort of a recurring gag in Ghostbusters, but he was a part of the team on the cartoon.
Right.
Like he became the fifth official Ghostbuster. I don't know. On the cartoon where he was an even bigger hit. And they made him cuter too because it's animated and he's not just this grotesque sack of sperm or whatever he was. I don't know what he's supposed to be.
At some point they actually retitled the show, at least promotionally, as Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, if I recall.
Yeah, he was a breakout star because of that. And,
he was Fonzie.
It was kind of like the way Punky Brewster got Glomer.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
That relates to what we're going to talk about in a little bit.
The animated series of the 80s that would take a live action comedy that was like just based in reality but add a fantastical element to it. Mm-hmm. Like, what if we did the Happy Days gang in a cartoon but they time traveled? And what if Punky Brewster had a cartoon but she had an alien little friend? That's a whole other.
Was Glomer an alien?
I don't know. He was something.
Was it like a wood nymph or something, or some cursed being from beyond? I don't know what he was.
I do. Like, I'm trying to.
Didn't he ride on a rainbow?
He might have. For people who weren't around back then, it's as if. Here, I'm going to use a show that's not even current, but everyone knows it. Recent past. It's as if they did a cartoon of The Office, but they're like now they're in space. Like now, I guess, which is Space Force, but this is literally like Michael Scott lives on Mars now, works on Mars.
You know what's funny?
Scranton has opened a Mars office, and all of your favorite characters work at Scranton Mars. Dunder Mifflin Mars. Yeah. That is what it was like with those cartoons back then.
And then Kevin drops the space chili everywhere.
Because even, I know Laverne and Shirley didn't go to Fantastical, but they did Laverne and Shirley in the Army, so it was still just like just take these characters and put them in a completely different situation.
It's funny considering that in the wake of The Office and Parks and Rec, there were just a handful of like outer space, quote unquote, workplace comedies. They weren't mockumentaries or anything, but everything was sort of borrowed a bit from The Office. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a different cinematic universe, the DCEU, and the news this week that the Snyder Cut, which I don't think it's its official name. I forget what it's called.
The official name is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Is it that? It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not. I remember that's how it was first advertised, but I think after that it changed to like Justice League: The Director's Cut or something.
I think it is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and because that logo that everyone snarked on because his name was literally.
It was huge. It was huge.
Yes.
It was Stay Puft Marshmallow Man huge.
I believe that is still the official title, is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
By the way, speaking of huge, have you seen how big King Kong is?
Yes, I have. Well, he has to be as big as his Godzilla.
I know, but he's never been as big as Godzilla.
I know, but
I know. He was young, and I know Kong Island. He was supposed to be a baby. I get.
He was supposed to. That's why they said it in the 70s, so that they could have him be quote like more like normal Kong sized, but establish in that movie that like he's still growing. And now here we are several decades later, and he can be, in this continuity, he at his full size, he is as big as Godzilla.
I'm just saying that's one gargantuan gorilla.
It is a gargantuan gorilla.
Anyway, the news about the Snyder Cut, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, is that it is going to be a 4-hour movie. Previously, HBO Max was going to release it in 1-hour installments, 4 1-hour installments.
Yeah.
But then they were also going to, after they released it separately, weekly, they were going to just put it together in a movie anyway.
Which, although I think there was like talk that maybe that would debut theatrically or something like that.
I don't know.
But now Snyder, on his strangely favorite social media platform Vero, that no one but Zack Snyder that I know of uses, has revealed it will be released at the onset as a 4-hour movie instead. That is a lot of Justice League.
It is, and you're talking to somebody who can like marathon the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings movies. I can take a long movie. I don't know. Maybe I'll just watch this one an hour at a time anyway.
Right.
I'll break it up into my own episodes. How about that, Snyder Cut? I mean, look, you and I will both watch it. I don't think either of us are very excited about that. But, here's the thing. Justice League wasn't good.
No, it wasn't.
So this could possibly just be a bit better. I'm not looking for it,
I think it'll be better. So, where I'm coming from is I Man of Steel, to me, didn't work, even though there were parts of it that I thought worked. But overall, it wasn't a successful movie to me. I really actively disliked Batman versus Superman. And then Justice League is a big mess. But of course, I understand that Justice League is a completely compromised movie with two very distinct filmmakers clashing with each other. And it's a movie neither of them want to claim. And at least Batman versus Superman, which I think is a bad movie, at least has a unified vision. You know?
And the thing is, I'm a little bit nicer on Batman versus Superman. I think I'm a little more Man of Steel with it than you, whereas I see there are elements of it that I enjoy. But overall, it's 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. It's just too much cluttered together in a big mess. But there's parts of it that I enjoy. So what we will be getting is a movie that is tonally more in line with Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. Yeah. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough to just make that through line better. Because, they brought in Joss Whedon specifically because of his tone to change the tone, and that didn't fit the DCEU at the time. And it didn't clash with the elements of the movie that he still left in. So that was just a big jumbled mess. I will mourn the loss of the besieged Russian family at the end of Justice League that's there just that Joss put in so that there was some possible danger to civilians in the remote forests of Russia. But
Mm-hmm. The Snyder Cut is a weird beast to me because it's like they knew once Batman vs. Superman came out that which is, a kind of crazy example of a movie that opened huge but then plummeted after and had such negative reaction around it, like that they needed to course correct. And even before Snyder left, they was like very actively trying to get the message out that they were course correcting. And I don't know if you remember this, they did like a very unusual move of not just having a set visit to Justice League, that's not unusual, but letting people, the embargo broke like right away. Usually you do a set visit and you can't talk about it till right before the movie opens. Right. But this was like getting out the word, like we're lightening things up and we're changing, like, and having Zack Snyder talk about that and stuff. So they were trying to course correct almost from the get-go. And then they ended up with this jumbled mess of a movie. And then the whole DCEU started to shift. And not only, Wonder Woman was like a much more successful and well-received movie, but also they were just like, let's just not even try to do like as much of like a continuing story. Let's not try to emulate Marvel as much as we were. Let's just do these kind of one-off fun adventures and have Shazam and Aquaman just be their own thing. So it's this strange lingering thing with the Snyder Cut, which really, to me, would only exist because of HBO Max. I'm not to say I think one day it would have happened. I think in 10 years they probably would have said, let's put out some release of this. But I think the reason it happened so quickly was because of HBO Max, was because Warner Media is like, what's something splashy we can do to get attention? Especially because, don't forget, they were debuting without any kind of big show. They didn't have a Mandalorian to debut with. And so they announced that Snyder Cut was coming like a week before HBO Max debuted. Mm-hmm. Like, so it was more like, hey, we've got stuff coming that will get you interested. And so I think that's why it's happening. But it's just such a strange thing because it's like this, we're still dealing with this movie that you feel like they should have moved on from, in an era they should have moved on from. And then there's the bizarreness of everything that's happened with Ray Fisher and his accusations against not just Joss Whedon, but Jeff Johns, and then up to John Berg and now to Walter Hamada. And all of that, which is this ongoing drama. And it's almost like, it's like this dark curse. It's like I joke about, it's like the Warner Brothers, the day at Warner Brothers, they said, let's make a Justice League movie, like has turned into this like never ending strange beast. And with everything with Ray Fisher, I'm like, how do they promote this movie? Like when they do press for it, it's going to be so much about that now. Right. And, and now he's not going to be in The Flash because of that. And because it's just sort of a showdown. It's just a lot to deal with. I even wondered, is that one of the reasons they decided to release it all at once? Because when it was 4 episodes, it was like going to be like, it could be like a 4-week series. And you can kind of milk it. And
it's just 4 more weeks of talking about Ray Fisher. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very strange situation where it's like, it feels like this lingering, and they're also kind of being pretty adamant that they're still moving on, and Affleck will appear in the Flash movie, but that's probably his last appearance as Batman. And it's just it
is weird, especially that we're going back to what was supposed to be the culmination of a certain storyline, but also the part of like something that Zack Snyder planned on making into a trilogy and like going forward into something bigger. But the DCU decided it worked best as splintering a lot more and doing the individual movies and then giving Harley her own movie and all that stuff. And then, basically reboot-quilling the Suicide Squad. And and now we're heading into utter multiverse territory with the Flash movie. And so we feel so far removed from whatever that storyline is with the mother boxes and all that stuff like seems so part of a very different DCEU.
And that's something I think is going to be interesting for them promoting it because, look, clearly there is a passionate fan base for Zack Snyder and to see this version of the movie. However, I don't think that reflects like sort of your average moviegoer who probably won't remember contextually like this is the sequel to Batman versus Superman again, and like you said, it's like like trying to remember like what happened back then, because you kind of have to forget about all the DC movies that have come since. They don't count watching this, so it's a strange curiosity. I think it's probably that's why it's right to release it on HBO Max, because it doesn't have the burden of like a full theatrical release of like trying to remarket. I realize it's going to be a very different movie, but it'll feel like they're trying to re-release the same movie to people who don't follow any of this stuff. Like I saw the Justice League movie. Especially since that trailer uses a lot of the footage that the original teaser for Justice League used.
No, yeah, exactly. I think you and I can both agree, though, that the Zack Snyder movie that we're looking forward to, because there is a Zack Snyder movie that you and I both like, which is Dawn of the Dead. So Army of the Dead, which is just going to be a Netflix movie, so it won't be in the theaters anyway. But that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Me too. I mean, it's his a zombie movie. I would.
It's a zombie heist movie.
I don't just like his Dawn of the Dead. I love it, and I think it's one of the cases of like taking a classic movie and remaking it, and people thinking this is sacrilege, and then making a completely entertaining movie that takes just the bare bones zombies and a mall and does its own thing with new characters and is really successful on its own terms.
And it's got a Batista in it. It's got Tig Notaro, I think. Like it's got a really cool cast. So.
Yep. But the Snyder Cut is just it's a strange beast, and one day maybe there'll be an interesting book about it or something.
A tell-all, Eric.
I do like, by the way, Matt, that in typical fashion, we're like, this will be a quick first episode.
No, we didn't say that. We didn't say that.
we didn't say it in the episode.
Oh, okay, we said it to each other. I know that.
We were
I was like,
texting
I was like, we promised nothing, Eric. We didn't say anything to these people.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're almost done with this news here. I'll breeze through this really quickly, which is that this week I had to inform Eric. Look, we're not recapping wrestling anymore, so there was no reason for him to I gotta watch Raw and I gotta watch it today or Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, whatever. So he didn't see the weird acid trip that we all went through on Monday night when neither Drew McIntyre nor Goldberg were there. Drew still is in quarantine for COVID. So The Miz and Morrison had their little talk show in the ring. What is it called? What's their show called?
The
A-List, the Showstopper. What is the Dirt Sheet?
Dirt Sheet, yes.
Is it? Yeah, probably. Let's just go with that. Anyway, so they brought out parodies of Goldberg and Drew McIntyre. For Goldberg, they brought out Gilberg. For Drew McIntyre, they brought out somebody dressed like Drew McIntyre, and he's walking to the ring, and there's this. You see
Drew McIntyre is a very large, long-haired Scottish wrestler, very buff,
very tall guy, and they brought out this out of shape guy who he's bumbling down to the ring. He's got his shirt off, his wig falls off, he's balding, and he's sort of stumbling around. You see his butt crack, and he's just acting very clownish and buffoonish, and it's for comedy. And then as he starts getting closer, we'll all start tweeting out is that David Krumholtz? And my God, it sure looks like David Krumholtz. Now, those who haven't seen David Krumholtz in a while don't know that he has gained a lot of weight. Now, I knew he gained weight because he was just on an HBO series that lasted 2 seasons called The Deuce. But he had lost some of that weight for The Deuce's 2nd season. Now it looks like he's put all that back on. But he gets in the ring, then he starts speaking like he's Drew McIntyre. And David Krumholtz has a very recognizable voice. So it looks like him, and it sounds like him. But no one's making reference, either Miz, Morrison, or the announcers, that it's David Krumholtz, who's a very established actor. Now, if you don't recognize the name, you know him as Wednesday's boyfriend, or Paramore, or Will They, Won't They from Addams Family Values, Joel. You also know him from another Christina Ricci movie, The Ice Storm. He was the co-star of a long-running CBS show called Numbers. Yes. He's been in a ton of movies, 10 Things I Hate About You, Superbad. He's been acting since he was a kid.
Yes.
He's very recognizable, even if you don't know his name. But they don't mention it. And in fact, he starts messing up. That's part of the bit. And Miz starts yelling at him and yelling at Morrison, where did you get this guy? He's some actor from New Jersey. And he starts yelling. So they just start yelling at him like he's playing the character of a no-name actor playing Drew McIntyre.
I just was reminding myself, looking at his wiki page, that, of course, he was in all the Harold and Kumar movies, too.
Yeah, and all the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen.
And in Joss Whedon's Serenity.
That's right. Can't stop the signal. Can't stop the fucking signal. And no one makes reference to the fact that he's playing Fat Drew McIntyre in the
Which
ring.
is very odd, because if you don't follow wrestling, they need actors sometimes. Just, yes, all wrestlers are actors, but they need these people to come in and be, they've got a psychiatrist. Because all these storylines happen, they will have people come in and they're just working actors who do these things.
No one comes close to having the resume of David Krumholtz.
Yeah, because if you come in and do that, it's just you're not supposed to be recognizable. If you're recognizable, you're going to be a special guest star.
Yeah, in fact, if David Krumholtz ever was just like tuning in on one of those Thunderdome screens for the fans, they'd be like, "Hey, look who's watching, David Krumholtz." I'm like, "All right, that's weird," but you know, they would have a right to bring him up, but they didn't bring him up. So we're all going nuts on Twitter, wondering if it's David Krumholtz, and he doesn't have a Twitter. He does have an Instagram, but it wasn't until like later on. I didn't see it till the next morning that he did actually post on Instagram that it was him. And that he thanked the WWE publicist who helped him do it. And I'm like, I don't know why he did it. Does he love wrestling?
I guess he must.
Does he need a gig? Like, people need to work. Like, was this the like weird wrestling version of seeing Alvin working at Trader Joe's from the Cosby Show?
But
like,
literally, David Krumholtz in the past year did a Twilight Zone episode. He did the David Simon miniseries, The Plot Against America. He guest starred on an episode of Aquafina's show. He works, like, you know.
I don't know what's going on. Like, so I was Googling too David Krumholtz.
Something he wanted to do, yeah.
Like David Krumholtz wrestling to see if he was like a secret wrestling fan, and I couldn't find anything. So anyway, Krumholtz is Raw. Raw is Krumholtz. That's
and
the
I will use that to
news.
piggyback the fact that Krumholtz did one episode of Freaks and Geeks as Neil's brother. And if you've never seen Freaks and Geeks, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, it'll be on Hulu on January 25th. And it's a great, 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 great show. One of the all-time one-season shows.
Eric.
And it doesn't end on a cliffhanger.
Eric.
They did. Yes.
Eric. I have never watched Freaks and Geeks.
Holy crap.
So I will watch it when it's on Hulu.
There you go. Okay.
There we go.
Watch it. And know that they knew they were in danger of being canceled so much that, you know, it was Judd Apatow and Paul Feig were running the show.
Yeah.
That they filmed a finale before they filmed 3 more episodes, so they could have some sort of ending. And so that is the final episode that aired. Was not shot last, but they were correct that they got canceled, so they had something to air.
All right, so we can even turn that into a main event eventually. So let's see. Okay, let's talk about what our main event for next week will be. Now, here's an interesting thing. Yes. This is a one-off. We're not doing a franchise. We haven't decided on what our next movie franchise is.
If we committed to doing this weekly, though, that'd be an amazing way to launch, but we're not.
Doing what weekly? Oh, what we're about to announce?
What you're about to mention.
That would be great. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about growing up in the 80s. There was a hit movie and a hit musical called Annie. And because of Annie, so many sitcoms were about orphans. It was about poor orphans.
I never thought about the Annie syndrome, but yeah, that probably had a play.
Well, and remember too, there was a brief TV show called Rags to Riches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Which
so
for kids, yeah.
Okay, so we get different strokes. They get rich.
Mm-hmm.
Silver Spoons. Isn't Ricky Schroeder like an orphan, or like doesn't realize his dad is a rich?
Didn't know his dad. Yeah, he never knew his dad, who turns out to be a millionaire. Yeah.
And then also they're not always rich. Sometimes it's just middle class. Webster.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just moving in with a white couple.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Punky Brewster, a show about a little adorable girl whose father leaves her early in her life, and then her mom later on abandons her in a supermarket in Chicago. That's the setup to a sitcom. She's left by her mother, who fucks off and leaves her as an orphan, and then she's taken in by a kindly old man, played by Commandant Lassard of the Police Academy films. The only thing I know this guy from are Police Academy and Punky Brewster. And what is his name? It's not George Gaines, is it? No.
No, it is George Gaines. That's
George Gaines. Okay.
Yeah.
So he plays
who had that very distinctive voice that he used.
Punky.
Yes.
That's what he would say. Punky. Was he English? I don't even know. He sounds not quite American.
He was a Finnish-born American voice artist. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so he takes in this orphan, and that's what the story's about. And also, to piggyback this onto that, is the fact that in the 80s, regardless of what show you were watching, whether it was about orphans getting rich or getting middle class, or just about girls at a boarding school like Facts of Life, whatever, there were very special episodes. And
yes.
Very special.
I do want to say, before we go too far, let's not talk about what these episodes are going to be specifically.
Oh, okay.
But let's talk about, but yes, you were correct.
So so one of the first things I wrote for IGN was a TV playbook about actually, I don't even know if this was TV playbook, Eric. I think it was just the best very special episodes of all time.
Sure.
I think that's what it was. One of the first things I wrote that wasn't like about wrestling was about very special episodes. And very special episodes were sort of charged episodes of a family sitcom that were about a very important or of the era socio-political issue, whether it was an anti-drug episode, an anti-smoking episode, an anti-bully episode, an anti-gun episode, drawing attention to epilepsy, an episode about stranger danger, alcoholism. Tom Hanks played a very famous recurring role on Family Ties, Uncle Ned, who the first episode he was an embezzler. The second episode he was, because of his embezzlement, he became an alcoholic and he hit Alex and cried. And so, so all these things, kidnapping, stranger danger was a huge thing. Pedophilia, my God, Eric. Yeah. There was an episode of Facts of Life where Tootie found out that Blair's ancestors were part of the KKK. So it's like, there's racism. So these were all like, they were very important, very special episodes. That's what they were.
And I think it was interesting because it was baked in that this would happen at least a couple times a season. You just kind of expected it. I will say this about Punky Brewster. Looking through the episode guide, a lot of their episodes read
Punky Brewster. Okay, so I was going to lead into that a little bit.
And maybe that ties into the fact that what you talked about the setup being, Punky Brewster did a lot more than some sitcoms did. Punky
Brewster was almost wholly very special episodes or important episodes. And God, I'm remembering now the Family Ties episode, the one like the Alex one-man show. Yeah, it was like a stage play after his friend dies, and it's like just a black set with a spotlight on him.
Yes.
Weird
time.
Okay, so
and the joke is, and I think this is something that you and I and other kids of the 80s have joked about, and then I think someone did a sketch or an article that was about, I think it was like The Onion or someone did the joking sketch that was the same thing we've joked about, which is the they ruined like episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air you finally got into to see the live studio audience. It turns out to be a very special episode. Like what was it like if you're like, I'm gonna go see my favorite wacky characters and you got into that taping, but it turned out to be one of these episodes. Like it was.
It's like either the one where Will Smith is sad because his dad left him again, or the one where he and Carlton get pulled over by the racist white cops while driving, and put in prison or jail, I should say. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to, and this came up only because I think it was yesterday, tweeted out it was the anniversary of one of the famous episodes, probably the most famous episode of Punky Brewster.
It was the Retro TV Twitter account, I think, that tweeted it out.
Which ran for, Punky Brewster ran for about 88 episodes. And had like every episode or every other episode was something special. And so we're going to recap next week 2 episodes. One is season 2, episode 14, called Urban Fear. Just that name makes me laugh. Okay. And season 2 is a banger. Season 2, episode 16.
Yeah.
Sherry Lifesaver.
Yeah, that's right. You got 1 week in between where maybe like Punky bought bright new shoes and
Eric, the episode before Urban Fear is called Christmas Shoplifting, and Peter Billingsley, this ties into the MCU.
Yes.
Peter Billingsley, aping on his Christmas Story role, plays a friend of hers who gets Punky to shoplift.
Yep.
So she learns a valuable lesson about shoplifting, which is don't do it. So for those who want to know where to watch it, you can watch these on Peacock. Now, I don't have Peacock either, but what you do is you sign up for a Peacock account. You sign up for the free version of Peacock, which does not give you the full breadth of the Peacock catalog, but it gives you access to some things. And if you have the free account, which comes with ads, you can watch any episode of Punky Brewster. So all you have to do is register.
There's a lot of there's been a lot of press about, of course, The Office just moved to Peacock, and only the first 2 seasons are on the free tier. But that's not the case for Punky Brewster or the original Saved by the Bell or a lot of classic shows. They're all on the free tier.
Okay, so Punky Brewster weirdly spoke to me when I was a kid. Not the cartoon with Glomer, the mysterious cursed being that we can't define. But the fact that, I grew up in New York, I was scared a lot, especially when I was in elementary school. I was scared later, too. But really, when I was a little kid, I was scared. And there was a lot of themes in, different strokes, and Punky Brewster Different Strokes especially because it was New York. I think Punky Brewster's Chicago. And that it's just like, it was dangerous. I was scared. A lot of the things that they were doing in these very special episodes were like very relevant to my surroundings. So we played with garbage. We would run into dangerous homeless people. Like it was a sort of a mildly traumatizing time, especially in the 80s, which was not a very safe time in New York City. So that's what we're going to do next week for the main event. And now we will get to this week's main event, which is WandaVision. WandaVision. So before the podcast, before I hit record, I said, Eric, how does that WandaVision theme go? And I'm referring to the Bewitched type opening credits in episode 2. Because last week, WandaVision debuted, and it debuted with 2 episodes. The second one...
before we go even further, we should just one more spoiler warning, so because this is the out point.
Okay, so...
I haven't seen the first 3 episodes.
Boy, spoiler for the theme song, by the way, because we already sang it. But I was trying to say, Eric, how did it go? And then I started singing what I was just doing, and he was like, no, I got to listen to it for myself. I was trying to convince you that what I was singing is exactly what the theme song was. It wasn't anything more than that.
Your tune was a little different. It was just the beat. Like, yes, it's just the word WandaVision.
And so then he starts singing it back to me, and I said, that's exactly what I did.
No.
Exactly. All right. Spoilers for the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. We do know that episodes 1 and 2 actually have titles now, filmed before a live studio audience, and don't touch that dial. Jury's out on what episodes 3 title will be, but...
Which was funny because when you tweeted that out today, like, you know, because this was a big topic of conversation on TV Twitter last weekend.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
yeah, I grabbed about it.
What are the episode titles to WandaVision 1 and 2, which were not listed? And when Matt tweeted out today that he discovered that they just had mysteriously added the episode titles at some point this week, our friend Alan Sepinwall, a renowned TV journalist, tweeted at him that he had been specifically told, I don't know if it was a Marvel person or Disney Plus person, but had been told they were not going to have. He was like, they told me they weren't going to have titles.
Oh, and they told Mitovich too, by the way.
And I was racing around somewhere. I couldn't reply, but what I was going to reply was, guys, the actors from these shows have to lie and say they're not in these shows. So, of course, they're just like, don't trust anything they say.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing with Chris Evans being like, news to me about me signing on for possibly appearing as Cap again. I'm like, you're just fucking lying, Cap.
Right.
That's what they do. They lie. Haley Steinfeld lied.
Haley Steinfeld had to lie for 15 months.
Paul Rudd lied about Ant-Man. They all lie. Brie Larson lied. They all lie.
Yeah. So it's DC too because Jason Momoa had to lie about Aquaman forever. He kept being asked about it and kept saying he wasn't doing it. So it made me laugh that when Alan was like, they said there wouldn't be episode titles. I was like, look, it's all just lies. It's just
okay. Spoiler warning for those 3 episodes, but also not just that, but we'll be talking about things we've seen in the trailer, any imagery we saw in the trailer, and the cast we know is in the show as released by Marvel, like
officially announced. Yes.
Officially announced by Marvel and the roles they are playing.
Especially because, as we just talked about, they don't tell you anything unless they want to tell you it. And
so if you really don't want to know anything about this show or who might be coming because you're trying to go in completely blind episode to episode, then I don't know, you can tune out. It's your option. Just do it. Okay. I will start just by saying what I think the things we all know about WandaVision so far. It is a big swing for Marvel, one of the most outside-the-box things they've ever done. It is surreal. It is obviously at this point, 2 episodes, 3 episodes in, it is still a very slow burn and is probably frustrating a lot of people who want answers a lot more quickly. And I think a lot of us knew that going in. I think a lot of us were, then others were surprised by this. And then other people who aren't as invested in the MCU as us were like, hey, I'm going to check this out because it looks weird as hell. And I'm into that. And so you get all these people, and everyone seems to uniformly like it. I know that those who don't, I think, are carping on the frustrating lack of answers elements. And I think that was a good idea to release 2 episodes at once because, as we've seen by the 3rd episode, they still have not given us big answers, and so that cuts it down from.
Though the 3rd has its biggest peek behind the curtain yet.
Right, exactly. So I will say that what I was looking forward to with WandaVision, and I am currently getting with WandaVision, which is what I was hoping for, is the MCU is so crowded, especially when we're talking about the Avengers films and then like Captain America Civil War, which had all the Avengers in it, really.
Yeah.
That you really have to pick and choose what relationships you focus on. Like, for 2 Captain America movies straight, 3 really, but 2 mainly, Winter Soldier and Civil War, it was the Cap and Bucky relationship. And Sam was in there too, so you got the 3 of them. MCU is so crowded that the Cap and Bucky relationship completely vanished by the time you got to Infinity War and Endgame. Like, this was...
Or it was the most minimal of moments.
It was like a relationship that defined 2 movies was kind of gone. And other things fell by the wayside too. And in its place, like, you could argue that, like I said earlier, Tony Stark and Peter really became a huge focal relationship in the Phase 3. And like, it really was, I think, the storyline that kind of saved 3 and gave it a heart that a lot of it, it really was the heart for me in Phase 3. Anyway, Wanda and Vision, I feel got really short-sheeted in the movies. And they're introduced, they're both introduced in Age of Ultron. She's a villain at first. He comes in the 3rd act. He saves her. That's all you kind of get from that. He saves her.
Which is a moment that only has significance because if you know the comics and you know there's this big couple, when he saves her, you're like, oh.
Yeah, and
but
she kind of...
If you don't know the comics, you probably just think, oh, Vision saves her.
Right, right. He saves her. She maybe has a look. Those of us who know. Those of us who don't probably don't give a shit. Then they get a little more closer, and it's clear that he has some more, whatever you can call it, feelings, interest in her in Civil War. Right? He sort of stays home and watches over her as she's in house arrest. And it sort of seeds are planted there.
So Civil War has a couple great scenes for them, but so much heavy lifting has to be done off screen. So it's like Civil War begins, and there's some dynamic between them. They have the cute scene with the Papa Grease. Am I saying it? Papa Grease. How do you say that? Damn it!
I don't know what you're trying to say.
The cute cooking scene.
Oh, I don't know, but whatever it is, he makes it terrible.
They have the scene when Hawkeye gets her to come with him, and she fights Vision. And it's kind of given some impact. But then when Infinity War begins, they made this huge leap.
Yeah. So then their whole relationship happened off screen. Admittedly, I was distracted.
Getting together.
Yeah. We learned in the time between, while they were on the run and sort of fugitives, that she was. Vision was not. Vision was sneaking off and going off grid and having romantic trysts with her around the world. And I was distracted by the Edinburgh setting because I had recently gone to Edinburgh and I was like, hey, I was just there. But that's the thing. It's like, they can say that they have feelings for each other, and that's a scene right before they're attacked by Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive. He's like, I think I would like to keep doing this and we can make something important happen. Yeah. Right? By the end of that movie, they're both dead. And any romantic feelings and moments happened off screen, and we didn't really get that. Then, all we get in Endgame is a return from beyond Scarlet Witch, Wanda, pissed off that Vision is dead. And so what I was looking forward to with this is an actual focus on the relationship and the love that we didn't get to be really a part of it too. And I think through her grief and whatever this construct is, that's the thing. It's giving them more screen time than they got in these films, and it's focusing on specifically how strongly she felt about all those moments we didn't get to see and weren't privy to, but it's enough to make their relationship feel vital. And it comes in a really happy, jolly form of love letter to retro sitcoms, or whether you watch them in reruns on TV, or if you grew up on Nick at Night, you know a lot of what they're paying homage to, and specifically things like Dick Van Dyke Show, Bewitched, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, whatever 80s stuff they're going to wind up doing.
It looks very Family Ties.
It does look Family Ties, doesn't it? Yeah. What would we do,
it's interesting because,
without us? And there ain't no nothing we can. You don't know the Family Ties theme song.
I know what it is. I'm familiar with it. What do we do? Damn it. Anyway, as someone who, read the comics all my life and knew them as this big couple who, got their own 12-issue miniseries, and their relationship was a key part of the Avengers comics a lot. Yeah, it's one of those things where you understand you're just jockeying for screen time, and there's so many characters, especially by Civil War on, especially the last two Avengers movies, that there's just not time unless they're going to completely shift focus, which they're not going to do because Cap and Iron Man were the leads of those movies by the end. They're just not going to get as much screen time. Now, they had two great actors playing them, and I do think they had some good scenes, but you were still missing like this crux of the relationship. And it's funny because Infinity War, which I freaking love, which is I still can't, is one of those like, I can't believe this exists. But it's funny, in Infinity War, a lot of the plot hinges on like, can Vision be saved? Like, does he have to die? Like, there's like a big onus put on that, and her trying to like fight for his life. But you just have to kind of go with it because, their relationship mostly happened off camera. So yeah, I too was just, that's the cool thing about them doing these shows is, as much as the MCU has proven you can do a movie with anyone and make it a hit, there's still, and as much as we're getting to the point where there's going to be 4 MCU movies a year, it's still not like limitless, but these shows give you the chance to really kind of hone in on these characters. And I'm so excited, by the way, that like War Machine's getting a show with Armor Wars, because Don Cheadle, great actor, and he's had some fun moments, but he's never had a deep character in those movies. There's just not been time for it. So he's getting a show that I'm sure is going to go way more in depth on Rhodey than these movies have ever been able to.
Actually show us people from his life that we don't know about.
Right.
Yeah, the only sort of drama and pathos we've gotten from Rhodey is when he got paralyzed, and that was sort of as serious as he's gotten.
Which, let's face it, was mostly sold on Tony being upset about it, because Tony was the main character.
And then it allowed him to sort of bond with Nebula
these little moments, and they're good moments, especially because both the writers know what they're doing to kind of make it a little moment, and then you have a great actor, so they can make these little moments feel something, but you're still not going to get deep on it. And so I'm with you on the fact that there's just WandaVision being like, hey, these two characters who are very important characters in the comics, and her especially has been at the center of some sort of universe changing moments on just even what her powers are and how powerful she is in the comics. It's like, okay, now we're going to really get to focus in on them. And the fact that they're doing it from such a strange way, I love. You and I were both big fans of Legion, which, we should say was made by Marvel. It was Marvel in partnership with FX, with what at the time was a separate Fox company. But of course, that's when Marvel TV and Marvel Studios were completely separate entities. And that show didn't have the onus of having any connection to the MCU. I was very happy that this is their first show, which I know it wasn't planned to be. Falcon and Winter Soldier was, just because it's like them showing. I love the MCU. I think it's amazingly successful what it's been doing, but I want them to be able to be weird and be different, and everything doesn't have to feel the same. Which I don't think everything does feel the same. I think Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy show that, but this is so different, and I very much appreciate that they're even doing it at all.
Okay, I realized we could probably talk about this for an hour and a half. So, shaving things down, created by Jack Schaefer. Is that how you say your first name, Jack?
I think Jack. I think
directed by Matt Shackman. Does he direct all of them?
Every single episode, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, because I know he's directed the first 3, and it's also got in it Catherine Hahn, and it also in the first episode had Deborah Jo Rupp from that '70s show. And
she's in the second one as well, although she doesn't have any dialogue. She's at the performance, the illusion and
that's
glamour.
That's right. And Fred Melamed, who people know from
A Serious Man.
A Serious Man. I know him a lot from Lady Dynamite, so I know he could be funny and dramatic. And so we're getting episodes of So I am curious going forward if they ever break out of the sitcom format in a certain way, if the episodes get longer, because right now they're sitcom length. So I'm very curious about that, if that's also intentional that they happen to be sitcom length. And we are basically, aside from little stingers that pop in, watching a sitcom episode. And so these episodes not only have to sort of pay homage to sitcoms, parody sitcoms, but they also have to function as a sitcom with a story that we kind of want to watch because it's funny.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
we do have, like, oh, it's a dinner date with my new boss, and we have to sort of we do have to be invested on it in the show on that level too, not just always looking for, oh, what darkness is going to creep in and what's going to happen. We have to be like it on the surface level too, like the magic show in the second episode where Paul Bettany, and it is really fun to watch him get to let loose and be really funny in this, and be a sitcom character, because he's really good at it. Where he's drunk from the gum getting stuck in himself. Like we literally have to be like, on a certain level, have to be like, oh, he's drunk. How are they going to get this show and impress Dottie? How are they going to succeed
and
here?
not reveal their powers?
Right. So you do have to sort of also like it as a sitcom that is parodying sitcoms. And the third episode with the covering, basically also sort of weirdly getting into kink territory here in the third episode with the expanding belly and the instant pregnancy. But we don't have to sort of delve into that. But the hiding of the pregnancy from Geraldine, or that's what she says her name is. We know who she really is. But like, the sort of the slapstick of the rapid pregnancy mixed with hiding the belly, arguing about like the names of the kids, more Easter eggs of Billy and Tommy, as far as like, these are the real kids in the comics, and is any of this real? Will anything that comes out of this weird realm exist in the real MCU, or is it all contained within this weird virtual world that we don't understand yet? And these are just Easter eggs for comic book fans. You know what I mean? Like, like the fact that they wind up having twins. Is that just for us, Eric? Or will it actually play out?
And my suspicion is that it will play out into something, even though there are things that are clear Easter eggs just for comic fans. Like, the opening credits of the second episode, the animated ones, have a bunch of Easter eggs. Is the fact that the Grim Reaper's helmet is glimpsed, if you have to really like freeze frame it and you'll see it. Is that a setup that he's coming? That's possible. Do I think the Bova milk is anything but an Easter egg? I think that's purely an Easter egg, because if you don't, the character Bova in Marvel Comics, who is connected to Scarlet Witch's childhood, is a walking, talking cow lady that I just don't think is going to be happening, at least right now. And I think that was them just having fun with all her crazy past by putting in the Bova milk in the supermarket in the animated opening.
Okay. Let's talk about what we do, who we know is on the show. We know that we have already seen Teyonah Parris show up. She tells Wanda her name is Geraldine, but she is Monica Rambeau. And Monica Rambeau is the adult daughter of Maria Rambeau. The last time you saw Monica, she was 9 years old? I can't remember how old she was, but you saw her in Captain Marvel as a little girl.
Right.
She is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who was Carol Danvers' best friend and fellow pilot, and who is the one who helps them fly up into space and actually joins in the third act adventure. And Monica Rambeau at the end is like, one day I'm going to have a spaceship or something like that.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. So now she is a part of this. And we don't really get a sense that she is not Geraldine until episode 3, when things really start to fall apart for Wanda. And it feels like Wanda actually purposefully expels her from this world. Like she is, because up until that moment, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, up until that moment, we don't know what's going on. We don't know if something's being done to Wanda or if Wanda's the one controlling it.
Even though there's the implication the answer is both, because the voices on the radio is saying, who's doing this to you, Wanda?
The voice is Randall Park.
Right.
So the other two actors we know who haven't shown up physically yet are Randall Park is reprising the role of Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Kat Dennings is coming back as Darcy Lewis from the first two Thor movies. Yeah. And we also know that the organization SWORD is a part of this, and that Monica Rambeau is a member of SWORD because she actually had the medallion around her neck. I don't know why she would have that inside there, but whatever. Do Jimmy and Darcy also work for SWORD? That's right. I think we can assume that, but we don't know for sure.
I think the implication is someone has Wanda and is manipulating her into this reality that then she has a lot of control over, and that maybe she is embracing, because the assumption here is that this is, that she is a very grieving person. That scene with Monica at the end is great. I loved it for a couple reasons. It's such a when Geraldine / Monica suddenly mentions, when first, I guess it's first Wanda says she's a twin, and then suddenly they start talking about Pietro, and Monica says he was killed by Ultron. And it's just like, oh my God, all this stuff is flooding in from the movies. But also Elizabeth Olsen, who I think is rather amazing in this show, gets to kind of really flip a switch there to straight up like menacing. Like, it's a scary scene for her as far as like, threatening Monica and then, as we assume, throwing her out of this reality because she's kind of destroyed. We've already seen Wanda rewind time and kind of redo moments when she doesn't like them.
Yeah.
And
so the first episode, Fred Melliman's character, Mr. Hart, starts choking at dinner.
Right.
And Deborah Jo Rupp's character, who plays his wife, just gets caught in this weird loop where she's like, stop it, laughing. And Wanda and Vision sort of freeze, and nothing can happen until Wanda says something.
Right.
Wanda says...
And Mrs. Hart looks at Wanda as she keeps repeating.
Yeah, like help. And so she says, save him. Vision is allowed to do it, and it's because it was at her behest. And then the second episode, as you said, we saw her basically stop a scene and rewind it after she goes outside and sees a beekeeper coming out of the sewers, which is perfectly normal. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, Eric, that is Swarm.
Is it AIM? Is it Swarm? Or is it AIM meets Swarm?
It's Swaim. It's a new villain named Swaim. It's like Luthien.
The second episode, it was really, the first time we really see something happen that kind of cracks the facade is Mr. Hart choking and Mrs. Hart kind of having that breakdown, which is a great sort of creepy moment. Then the second episode, you start to get more of that the neighbors understand Wanda's significance in different ways. First, it's like little things, which is like Agnes calls her the star of the show.
Well, and she hides it. She's like, if it isn't the star of the show, but then she covers it by revealing her bunny. Like she was talking about the rabbit, yeah.
And then Dottie has that, like,
Buffy's Emma Caulfield.
Yes, which was very exciting to see her in this. They have that kind of showdown where she says, like, I know the truth about you. And Wanda's like, I'm not here to do it. I don't want to hurt anyone. And she goes, I don't believe you. And so it's like, that's this other thing of, like, people see the truth. And then we get a big example of that when Agnes and Herbert both are freaked out by Geraldine. Like, she doesn't belong here.
So somehow some of them are trapped because Agnes and Herbert gave the idea that they were trapped in there. And that everyone else, all the neighbors, everything, were sort of trapped. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But that Geraldine was an invader. Again, I don't know why she's wearing the sword emblem. But she was sort of able to infiltrate somehow and not be in the same control sphere as everyone else. And we don't know who they are. We don't know if Wanda took over an actual real-life neighborhood or if they were all sort of scientists who got caught in this virtual suburban world. We don't know who Agnes and Herbert and the rest of them and Dottie and Ali and all the rest of them are as far as in real life, like who they are and what they're trapped by. And so there are a ton of theories out there, like, is this Mephisto? Is this Nightmare? Is this just the Mind Stone? And, people throw out villains or what it could be. I do know that for the show purposes, somebody uncovered... I forget where they uncovered it. In a toy? I don't know. That SWORD's acronym varies slightly from what it is in the comics. Yeah.
They've taken it because SWORD in the comics is a outer space organization. They're like S.H.I.E.L.D. for space.
If you guys watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. through the end, they actually tease SWORD at the end of that without saying SWORD. Like, some of the characters go off.
They directly mentioned that they were, the Marvel Studios basically always had the power over Marvel TV, and they were supposed to directly use SWORD at one point on S.H.I.E.L.D., and it was one of the times they were told you can't, the movies want it. Like, and now, of course, it's all been absorbed in to one and the same.
So whatever SWORD stands for, I believe it is Sentient World Observation and Response Department. On the TV show, it may, according to this this toy that was released or something, some packaging.
It was a
released.
trading card, I think. Yeah.
Is sentient weapon observation and response department. So it kind of takes it out of space a little bit, and I don't know what you would consider a sentient weapon. You know, is Wanda a sentient weapon?
Right,
People who are too dangerous. I don't know. Who can't control their powers, perhaps.
So let me ask you, in the interest of trying to wrap up, although of course we're not going to do weekly WandaVision chats, but I'm sure we'll talk about the finale. What do you think is going on? And I guess we should also mention we've as much as we've warned about spoilers from the first 3 episodes, we should also say, look, this is going to involve the comic books too, and this is where it gets weird when you're adapting comic books, because I remember when Winter Soldier came out, it was like, is the fact that the Winter Soldier is Bucky, should we treat that as a spoiler? Because it's like a very known fact from the comics. And there it got really weird because there were actually photos released with him without the mask. So it was not that hidden, but some people were like, well, yes, of course. It's like revealing the Red Wedding. But here we don't know exactly how they're going to adapt it, and they never adapt things exactly.
I would just say with regards to Bucky is that, like, I knew going in who it was, but I think the investment you have is seeing Steve find out.
Right.
Like this, I don't care about the, like, you don't have to surprise me. You got to surprise Steve. That's what is. I think that's why they were able to sort of do that with him. You know.
So in broad terms, because of course neither of us we're not going to be able to get the exact specifics. Like, what do you think is going on, and how do you think this show ends?
I have no idea. All I know is that it's supposed to feed into Multiverse of Madness. That's what the line item was back before the pandemic. Anyhow.
Yeah, and she's filming that right now.
Yeah, well, so she's in it, and that even leads more into, like, talk about, is this Nightmare, or, you know, like, is this Mephisto? You can go through sort of Doctor Strange's rogues gallery of interdimensional demons and villains. Is this also what juices up the multiverse? You know, it goes into the Multiverse of Madness, and then eventually we're going to get into Spider-Man 3, which is going to go full Spider-Verse. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I really like about it, is that I don't know. Like, they've given us really so little, aside from the fact that it's going to be Swarm in the end.
Sure.
And that Swarm is my master. I don't know. I don't really have. Is Muncher going to show up?
Into the Munchiverse?
Oh, if only there was a Munchiverse.
They'll get there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Eric, what if what we don't know, we know we're going to get at least one more after this in the sitcoms. We don't know how far it's going to keep going. Like, we're going to get an 80-something.
I think they've implied it'll go up through, because I think they have implied we'll probably get a Modern Family, The Office.
I was going to say, yeah, if we got a mockumentary one, that would be amazing.
I think we are.
Because I've seen them, like, look at the camera a little bit, like in some of the stills.
Yeah, I think it's almost like too good to not do, right? Like, yeah. Especially because one of the things about this show that I think is so interesting, and you and I have discussed this, and I think we even discussed it on We Enjoy Wrestling, but we'll briefly repeat, is just that kids today don't grow up with the same shared history of classic sitcoms that we did in the 80s and 90s. Kids did too, because especially with TV Land and Nick at Night, which is to say there were shows like I Love Lucy and Gilligan's Island and The Brady Bunch that were decades old and done before we were born, but everyone saw them because before the internet and before a million options and before streaming, you would see them because they were in syndication or they were on Nick at Night and TV Land. So it was a very shared thing. Like, of course, everyone, including kids born now, which is to say 80s and 90s, have seen these shows. But that's no longer the case. And so it must be. I'm curious how many people are not connected, and they might be connected. They might be connecting because it's so interesting and weird. But there's an interesting thing to ponder: younger people who just have not seen Bewitched, which was a show that used to be, you could count that everyone had seen Bewitched, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly. And would know that the second episode opening credits were an animated takeoff on the Bewitched opening credits and so on. And
right, but we're going to get, eventually, by getting to the 90s and 2000s, it's like, well, Friends has never stopped being popular. The Office is the most popular show. Last year was the most popular show on streaming, was The Office. So those shows are definitely people will understand what they're doing,
Right.
if they do an episode about that.
Well, I am looking forward to that, and I have no answers as to what the end game is for this. I don't know.
My big my broad theories is that I do think there's going to be a quote unquote probably a bad guy of sorts here, the who's doing this to you, even though she is in control. The thing is, in the comics, she has gone back and forth between like good guy and villain, or sort of damaged, I should say, a lot of times. She's incredibly powerful. They've pointedly, another thing Kevin Feige said from the start about this show is this will be the show where she'll become the Scarlet Witch, which is a name that's never been used in the MCU. They don't always say Hawkeye, Black Widow, but they're at least used once or twice, or at least we see that name on a dossier. Even Falcon was that way for a while, but Scarlet Witch has literally never been used, that term. And so it seems like, yeah, this will kind of blow open her power set, which I think we're already seeing, because whether she created this reality or not, she has a lot of control over it, clearly. And I think by the end, yeah, it's going to tie into the multiverse thing, that something she does probably will kind of break the multiverse. Because I also think this show ultimately is going to be a very sad show, because Vision's probably not going to be alive by the end of it. He's dead going into the show, and we don't know how he's even here. He's not in Doctor Strange as far as we know. And this is most likely, and I think we already saw this happen with Pietro being mentioned, it's like, this is like a woman who, if you really look at her, and again, the movies didn't have time to focus on her, she's kind of defined by losing the people she loves.
And this whole construct, the stuff that shines through, from the Iron Man colored helicopter to the blinking light on the Stark toaster, which represents the sort of the bomb that didn't go off when she and Pietro were trapped as kids, to the Strucker watch, the Hydra thing for the Hydra experiments. It's kind of like a This Is Your Life, retrospective hidden within the fabric of these sitcoms and the commercials. By the way, it's the same actors in all three commercials. The man and the woman are the same. So, which is funny.
Who have their own moments of, like, she looks troubled at one point with the toaster, and like there's a couple moments where they seem to be almost about to break like their character.
Oh man, what is this? Who is this? Shadow King? Is this is this Mojo? Like, I don't know what's happening. And is My Husband Ralph anything? Like the fact that it is an ongoing joke with Catherine Hahn's Agnes character, and she's
which
great.
is also a funny sitcom trope. I think Vera on Cheers is a famous example of it. But the unseen spouse or person of significance that's just a constant mention.
You saw Vera's feet,
and you saw her face covered in a pie.
Oh, that's right. That's right. When the door opened. I think. So all we know about Ralph right now is that he is a lazy, disgusting, sexless blob who she can't wait to murder. And maybe that's the way, because she speaks so weirdly, like snarks on him and speaks so ill of him. That is the villain somehow,
So an interesting thing I started watching.
Ralph is Doctor Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And the other thing, I'll tangent myself for a second. I'll get back to what I was about to say in a second. But the other thing is, there's a lot of possibilities here. They've directly said this movie leads into the next Doctor Strange movie, so you kind of feel like, will she kind of break the multiverse? Spider-Man comes out before Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man. So it's like, it seems like this is going to be this huge storyline that all begins here, most likely. The other thing is, in the comic books, she and Pietro were mutants. They couldn't be in the movies because of the studio split that is no longer a case. And could this be the beginning of setting up mutants in some crazy way? And is that because she breaks the multiverse, and the mutants that we've seen in the other movies can be like, with all this talk about the actors returning, like, could we see any of the familiar X-Men actors return in Doctor Strange? Maybe. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities there. And what I was going to say is that I started watching this week because I'm watching after watching the first 3 WandaVisions and being like, wow, yeah, I think what's really going on here is, at its core, this is like a grieving woman with incredible power who has created this idyllic, life that she could never have with the man she loved who's dead. I started watching the show Sorry for Your Loss. Which was
Facebook Watch show.
The Facebook Watch show starring Elizabeth Olsen, very recent, 2018 to 2019. Nobody watched it, but it got a lot of acclaim, and she got a lot of acclaim for it, which is directly about a woman a young married woman.
Did she lose her husband or fiance? Husband?
Her husband.
Okay.
And just kind of the aftermath of that and kind of being this grieving person. And it's just interesting to be like, I think this is her second TV show in a row about the same subject matter, just coming at it from wildly different, viewpoints. And I will kind of see as that goes on.
I hope that after, again, I already gave away the fact that we're recording this on Thursday because we get to see the first 3 early, screener-wise. But I do hope that because, like, as you know, you mentioned we get the biggest peek behind the curtain and that, like, you literally see that Westview is like a town itself. Like, it has a sign as soon as Monica's...
But there's now, like, a kind of military gathering, which we assume is sword, like, this kind of tented in.
And that, like... Obviously, there are a lot of pieces can be written about this episode, but like for, the viewers not as invested, they'll be like, "Ugh, come on," like who are already probably pissed it's not a binge show.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean, again, I'm totally I loved the first 3.
Oh, me too.
I think the slow burn is totally fine. And I love that they all have these moments, these creepy moments, and like Mrs. Hart is the big one in the first episode, and then you literally at the very end, of course, see someone watching this on TV. But I do understand that yes, there will be people who, although I think the MCU's key to their success has been their characters and the fact that people love the characters so much. At the same time, of course, people expect there to be action and adventure in them as well, and this show is not going to deliver that for a while. I think we're going to get there. But initially, that's not what they're doing. And you do have to kind of accept it as a sitcom. Like you said, Matt, it's like they literally have the sitcom scenario. Like, oh, we have to perform at the magic show. We have to impress the boss when we didn't know that, and Wanda didn't. There was a comical misunderstanding about what was even happening. But I think that I really enjoy what they're doing. I think they've done an amazing job recreating the artifice. We didn't even talk about the fact that the aspect ratio they do, so it's not
that starts off,
which I love.
Well, and you and I also didn't mention the fact that I think several of us tweeted about it when we were watching the screeners, even not giving anything away, but just after 2020 and the year that a lot of people have had, and just not being able to go to movie theaters and not being able to see, like seeing the opening Marvel logo like roll by. It's just an emotional thing if you're really into the franchise and to see it happen. But then specifically the first one too, you see the screen crunch in and turns black and white, and the sound gets different too. Like it goes into like old style TV sound. So that was really cool.
Yeah, so I love how they're doing it. I love the creepy undertone of it. I think it's a great spotlight for Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, her especially, just because she's kind of getting to do this very sort of, she's doing they're both doing a great job of evoking old sitcom acting. Right now, though, she's the one who gets to show this other side, especially in that scene with Monica where she kind of flips. So I'm very intrigued by it. And I will say this is speculation based on kind of putting clues together, and what people have sort of noticed is when you said, will they all be 30 minutes? When they talked about this show, they said it was a 6-hour show. So when they said there were 9 episodes, people were like, did they re-edit it to make it longer? I don't think that's the case. I think it was notable. They said, again, because they are so careful with their language, they said 6 hours because it's 6 hours total without saying how many episodes. People have mentioned that 6 hours wouldn't be, there's not enough if they were each 30 minutes, but it's most likely that like the last 3 will be 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like as soon as they break out of the sitcom mold,
Yeah. And when I interviewed Paul Bettany, he did say we start out with this sitcom. So it just, I'm guessing, yes, the final few episodes, will be something different. But we'll have several weeks of the sitcom thing, which I'm totally cool with because I'm into what they're doing. And I want to see Paul Bettany look at the camera with like a Jim Halpert. So
it does seem like it's going to be more Modern Family. So let's hope he's as dumb as Phil is, adorably dumb.
Yeah. We should say it's interesting what they're doing, which is the episodes are evoking an era, but they're almost all feel mostly one show. So the first episode was mostly Dick Van Dyke. It wasn't 100%, but that was a show they were mostly pulling from. The second was Bewitched. The third was Brady Bunch. And again, it's not to say it's a 1-to-1, and other shows, of course, are influenced too. But it's kind of like, what is the main influence?
Yeah, it's also it reminds me of. When Weird Al doesn't do a parody song, but he does a stylistic homage song. Yeah. Weird Al fans will know what we're talking about. But there'll be songs where he directly parodies a song, like Amish Paradise. But then there'll be songs where it's like, this sounds like a Devo song. This sounds like a Leonard Skinner song. But it's not an actual direct aping of a song that exists. It's just done in the style of, this sounds like a Weezer song. Yeah. So, all right. I think we can wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us on our first episode of We Enjoy. I'm still going to sign off the same way, Eric. I'm still not changing all this stuff.
We're going to stick to our same sign off. We'll remind people, if you want to play along, what we're going to talk about next week is Punky Brewster, a big shift. We're going to do big shifts all the time here. Is Punky Brewster Season 2, Episode 14, Urban Fear, and Episode 16, Sherry Lifesaver. You can watch them for free on Peacock. But you'll have to watch commercials, real commercials that don't have Stark or Strucker mentions, we don't think.
Yeah, and then going forward, we will settle on a franchise. No rush on James Bond, by the way. As it turns out, what we will settle
that's the new title, No Rush for Bond.
No time for rushing. And maybe we'll have some special guests like Muncher. Maybe you think we can get Muncher on the show?
If we could get 2 hours with Muncher.
Does Muncher know Munch?
Detective Munch, played by Belzer, maybe?
The true multiverse? Okay. All right. The Munchiverse of madness? All right.
If you followed us for many years, you will be familiar with the word we're about to end on. But if you're not, maybe one day we'll talk about it. We'll see.
It's the Twitter banner that I changed for the old We Enjoy Wrestling, the We Enjoy Podcast Twitter banner now. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shakma! Shakma!